Welcome, everyone. So glad you are here tonight for our Young Fives and Kindergarten Information Night. I think I got to meet most of you on your way in. If you're a family I know already, it's always great to see our familiar faces, our families with our older siblings, sometimes much older siblings, and it's exciting to see our little siblings come on in with their parents. And if you're new to Indian Hills, we definitely welcome you. It might take me a few times of seeing you to get to know you, but after a while, after we get started into next year of school, we'll all get to know you all like family. Tonight, I've got a presentation for you. Sorry, kids, it's a little bit of a mom and dad focused presentation. So if it's a little boring and you need to step out with your little one, feel free to do so. Presentation is going to be about 25 minutes long. We are recording this for the district, so for anyone who couldn't make it tonight or anyone who wants to review this information again or rewatch it, it will get put on our district website probably in the next week or so for the whole district. After the presentation tonight, you'll have the opportunity to meander around the school, see the school, and visit our Young Fives and kindergarten classrooms. And I actually want to begin by introducing our amazing staff that are here this evening. So I'm going to have our Young Fives and kindergarten teachers come on up. So thrilled that they are here tonight, and you will have the opportunity to meet them further and get to talk with them when you visit the classrooms later. First, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Kelly Reed, our Young Fives teacher. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Young Fives, not to worry, I will be addressing that in the presentation. And then I have our three kindergarten teachers here, Mrs. Kristen Perino, Mrs. Holly Luce, and Mrs. Emily Pagano. So they are all here tonight. They'll be down in their classrooms. I'm actually going to let you all head down to your classrooms right now so you can get anything ready for as parents come down that way. We also have some other wonderful staff members here supporting us this evening in the back. We have Mrs. Leanza Garcia, our English learner teacher, who is here tonight. And then we have some folks from Croswell. Mrs. Janine Beck is our Director of Early Childhood Services. She is your guru on preschool as well as SAC, which if it's been a while since you've been in school, SAC stands for School Age Childcare. When I was a kid, they called that latchkey. So if you're still on the latchkey track, it's called SAC now. We also have Mrs. Tammy Theobald, one of our wonderful preschool teachers, and some of you might recognize Mrs. Theobald if your students are in her class. So these ladies are here tonight assisting us with our program as we go. And we're all excited to get to know you and your families as we move on through this year. Tonight, as I said, I have a little bit of a presentation for you. The focus of our presentation is as follows. We're going to talk about our two programs, our Young Fives program and our Kindergartens program. We're going to talk about preparing your child for success in elementary school next year. There are lots of things that you are likely doing now and can be doing now to help your child be prepared. We're going to talk about the enrollment process, which you are going to hopefully begin tonight. I'll tell you how to do it and we'll urge you to begin that process tonight. In fact, I see some eager beavers out there who already got into their red folders, and it is fine with me if you want to start on that registration track of your red folders. I see our families that already have been here before. They know what to do. And then, as I said, we'll get to visit those Young Fives in kindergarten classrooms. If you have any questions, you'll have the opportunity to ask those at the end of the presentation, either for the whole group, or if you have more one-on-one questions, you can feel free to ask me or our teachers. Okay, so in Romeo Schools, we believe in developing the whole child. So from our Young Fives and kindergarten program on up, we are looking at helping students to grow academically, of course, but also socially, emotionally, and physically. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in our Young Fives and kindergarten programs as we go. As I have mentioned a couple of times already, we do have two program opportunities for our students. The first is traditional kindergarten, and the second program is our Young Fives program, which is like a step into kindergarten, and I'll talk a little bit about that now. First, there are a lot of similarities between both our Young Fives and kindergarten program. These are true, whichever program you participate in or your child participates in. First of all, they are both full-day programs. It's been many, many years, but half-day kindergarten is not an option. Both Young Fives and kindergarten are full-day programs for all of our students. Both Young Fives and kindergarten include all of the underpinnings of an elementary experience. They're both housed in our school building, Young Fives and kindergarten, with the rest of our elementary grades up through grade 5. Students have a lunch period in the cafeteria every day. They have recess, 2 recesses a day actually. They have a special area class every day. That could be music, physical education, art class, or STEM class. They also have access to our school's school activities, whether they are after-school activities that we have for the whole school community or during the day activities like our assemblies and other special programs. So our Young Fivers and our kindergartners all have access to those things. Both of the programs are tuition-free. There's no cost to parents for your child to participate in Young Fives or kindergarten. For in-district residents, they do include busing if busing is part of the route for where you're at. Here at Indian Hills, most of our students are eligible for busing if they're in a neighborhood that has a bus. And then also school-age childcare is available. And so that would be if you need childcare for your student before school or after school, you're going to want to talk to Mrs. Beck about starting the registration process for that. And I would say talk with her tonight if you are interested. Our SAC programs do fill up, and there is a limit to how many they can take. All right. Now, into the nitty-gritty of the day, some more similarities between Young Fives and kindergarten you will find are that they both have academic content expectations that are based on the state of Michigan expectations for kindergarten learning. These are our state standards. The state standards for kindergarten include reading, such as phonemic awareness, letter sound identification, early reading skills. At this point in the year, our kindergartners are starting to read words and phrases, and some of them are reading even more than that at this point. A development of fine and gross motor skills. Fine motor skills are those small muscles, like how we hold a pencil, how we have good grip and good control of our hands. Gross motor skills are our big body systems and how we have good control over our muscles in our body. Both programs include purposeful play daily. Yes, we still play in kindergarten. It's an important thing. Children learn through play, and it's part of their everyday experience, not just at recess, but also in the classroom. Both programs offer the opportunity for exploration of literacy, math, science, and social studies concepts. The kids have some great units of study that get them really engaged and involved and curious about the world, and that's part of our programming here. And of course, there's the use of all of those kindergarten things that we might think of back in our kindergarten days: blocks, puzzles, games, manipulatives, learning through doing. These are all parts of both our Young Fives and our kindergarten program that help us toward developing that whole child. So at this point, you might be wondering, well, why are there 2 programs? How is Young Fives different from kindergarten? Well, one key way that Young Fives is different from kindergarten is that Young Fives is actually a precursor to kindergarten. Students who participate in Young Fives actually participate in a 2-year kindergarten experience. In the Young Fives experience, they have all of the things that I talked about on the previous slide, but it's a smaller subset of the kindergarten standards. So if the kindergarten standards are like this, the Young Fives standards are a smaller set of those standards, giving students that opportunity for a little bit more time to grow academically and maturity-wise to get ready for the next year in which they would then take kindergarten. There is no skipping from young fives to first grade. Any student who participates in young fives would do kindergarten the following year. Why do we have young fives? Well, for many, many students, there is a very straightforward path from preschool to kindergarten. Students attend 1 or often 2 years of preschool, they turn 5, and they head off to kindergarten, starting their elementary journey. That's the traditional path. But what we have found over the years through our own individual experiences and the research that's out there is that for many students, that jump from preschool to kindergarten is just too large. The demands and structure of a preschool day are quite a bit different from the demands and structure of a kindergarten day. And while many students are ready to make that leap, others need a bridge to help them get there successfully. And that is what Young Fives is for. Young Fives is that bridge into kindergarten, that smaller set of standards, that heavier focus on social emotional development and maturity, so that then they can be ready to take on kindergarten after Young Fives. So you might be wondering if Young Fives is right for your child, and there are a few situations that might really speak to you. First and foremost, if your child is not yet 5 and not going to be turning 5 until between September 1st and December 1st, and you don't want to do another year of preschool, or you've already done 3s and 4s preschool, then Young Fives would likely be the appropriate choice for your child. A student turning 5 between September 1st and December 1st is technically too young for kindergarten. A waiver would be needed. And in that case, we recommend that the student goes to Young Fives. Not only will it serve them well in that particular year, but it will serve them well throughout their years as they grow, so that they are not dramatically, chronologically younger than their peers. Another situation in which Young Fives might be right for your child, if your child is turning 5 between June 1st and September 1st, that would be one of those summer birthdays this year, your child is on the earlier end. And if you're noticing that your child would benefit from additional time to grow emotionally, socially, or academically, or all of the above, then Young Fives might be right for your child. If your child falls into that range and you're interested in Young Fives, they would need to participate in a district screening process to determine if Young Fives is the recommendation for them. And so you would actually sign up for that screening process as part of your pre-registration. And finally, and this is a much more rare case, we do have some students that are not chronologically young that turn 5 before June 1st, but for whom that extra time for social, emotional, and or academic development is important. Then Young Fives may be right for your child as well. It's rarer, but it can happen. And in that case, you would want to get your child screened. They would need to be screened to be considered for Young Fives. So to recap that slide, if you're thinking Young Fives and your child is not turning 5 until September to December 1st, awesome. They would automatically be considered a good fit, and you would note that in your pre-registration that you want Young Fives. But for anyone turning 5 prior to September 1st, they would need to participate in the screening process to be considered. So let's talk about the benefits of Young Fives, and I could sing the praises of Young Fives for hours. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick bullet points. And then if you have further questions, you are definitely welcome to speak to Mrs. Reed down in the classrooms or myself later this evening. But basically, Young Fives provides that gift of time and exposure. As I've mentioned already, Young Fives is that smaller subset of kindergarten standards. It just gives students more time to chew on those standards a bit as they get into the routine of a full day of elementary school. It's also an extra year for students to gain self-esteem, confidence, independence, some of those fine and gross motor skills, as well as academic, social, and emotional skills. Oftentimes, I will have families that come to me that say, my child is very young. I notice some things with them socially, but they know all their letters, they can count to 100, they're starting to read, so I think they should go to kindergarten. And what I tell families is that really, Young Fives is probably the best fit for that child. Each child is different, but many of our children that are coming to Young Fives are not coming there because they don't have academic skills. They are often coming to Young Fives because they need that gift of time. It's not only about the academics. And of course, Young Fives provides that opportunity to empower our students so that as they're getting that additional time, they're growing into themselves, they're growing into their confidence, they're getting their foot in the door of what elementary school is like so that they can feel really good the following year when they get to kindergarten. So as I said already, if you have questions about Young Fives, please feel free to stop and chat with Mrs. Reed. Feel free to stop and chat with me. Your child's preschool teacher may also have some good ideas for you as you make this decision. Now let's talk about preparing your child for success in elementary school. This is good advice for our future Young Fivers and our future kindergartners. And the first area might surprise you if you're new to this. We ask for your help in getting your student ready for school from an emotional and personal standpoint. You would not believe how empowering it is for a student to come into school with a room of 20 other students and know how to take care of their zipper on their coat, and know how to take care of changing their shoes to their boots, and know how to open their packages in the lunchroom. And these are skills of independence that you can foster right now. Because I know if they're your baby, it's pretty easy if they're sitting at the table for lunch and they have their package of fruit snacks and you just want to come open it for them. Or it's pretty easy for you to say, we got to hurry out the door, let me tie those shoes on you real quick. But what happens then, the student doesn't know how to do it themselves. They get into school. Of course, our teachers and support staff are very helpful, but your child is frustrated because they're waiting. They're waiting for their turn to be helped as they see other students who know how to take care of themselves. So this is my message to the moms and dads out there. I do have 3 children myself. My youngest is now a 1st grader. It was hard for me to let go of the babying of my littlest one. But I had to. I knew I had to because I needed to get him ready so that he could be in a place where he could be confident. So cherish this baby time in other ways, but please help your child to become a big kid so they can feel good and independent as they get ready to come into school. And get them excited about school. That's the other kind of piece here. You may have a lot of big feelings, whether it's your oldest, your youngest, your middle, big feelings about them coming off to elementary. Whatever those feelings are, please telegraph feelings of excitement and positivity to them, because the more that you do that, the more confident they will feel coming up to school. Here's some other things you can do now to help get your child ready for school. Help them grow socially. You're probably already doing many of these things, but please think intentionally about opportunities for your child to socialize with other children, especially other children of a similar age. If they're always playing with older kids, it's real easy for those older kids to always let that little one win, right? But we want them to be in situations where they have to take turns, where they have to share. So do whatever you can to get them involved in social opportunities, whether it's play groups, structured activities, or just, play dates with the preschool friends. At home, you can also play games with them involving turn taking, sharing, following simple directions. This will help them so much for school. And of course, I wouldn't be a teacher if I didn't say, read, read, read daily. Read to them, talk with them about books, talk with them about the stories and the people, the characters in the books, because that helps your student learn so much about the world and other experiences. And of course, there are academic things you could be working on as well. Reading, it's in there twice because it's important. Singing songs and nursery rhymes. Nursery rhymes and songs actually help develop critical phonemic awareness skills for our little ones, helping them identify letters, both uppercase and lowercase. A lot of times when we buy letter cards at the dollar store or whatever, they're really good at offering the uppercase letters, so we want to make sure our students see lowercase letters as well. Identifying numbers, shapes, and colors, basic skills. Helping them write their name the kindergarten way. That means an uppercase letter for the first letter and lowercase for the rest. Oftentimes in preschool, kids will learn all uppercase right away, and that's not a bad thing, but we want to start transitioning them into that traditional format, uppercase letter for your first letter, lowercase for the rest. Using correct pencil grip and cutting and gluing. You would not believe how important this skill has become. Now that our students are doing a lot more of that at home on a screen, many of them, they're coming with weak fingers because they're not doing as much cutting, gluing, playing with Play-Doh. And anything you can do with those small hand muscles to build them up is really powerful. So I know you came and now I've given you homework, so maybe one or two or a few of those bullet points in the slides past have struck you as something, okay, we're doing that, check. And maybe one or two or a few are things that you want to start working on, and you have many months to do that so that we can be ready for fall. I also want to give a plug to our Romeo District Library. Hopefully you're all aware of our wonderful library in our community. We're a fairly small community, but we have two amazing library branches. The big Grosvenor branch, just north of us here on Van Dyke. And then if you go further down into the village of Romeo, you have the very cute Kezar branch of the library. Both have amazing children's programs, a lot of wonderful opportunities for families and kids to explore books, programs, crafts, all kinds of wonderful things at the library. Okay, I want to talk about enrollment process, and as I said, you do have these step-by-step directions in your packet along with a QR code. If it has been a few years since you've enrolled a student in Romeo Community Schools, this process has changed, so even some of our veteran families will need to listen closely here. The first step for all families who are registering, whether for young fives or kindergarten, is a step that I would urge you to take tonight, and that is to do the online pre-registration. I have a link up there, romeok12.org/enrollment, but you also have a QR code on your document. Pre-registration requires no additional documents with you, and it can be done on your phone. It's that simple. But what you're going to want to do when you go into pre-registration pre-registration is make sure that you select the correct year for your child. The default year will default to 24-25, which is this school year. But you're not enrolling them for this school year, so please make sure you click 25-26 as the school year. You're going to go through the pre-registration prompts. There's going to be a portion of the prompts that asks you which preschool, if any, your child is attending. Please make sure you note that, because that helps us link up with the preschools to make sure we have the right kids in our system. During pre-registration, there will also be a question where you'll be able to indicate if you are interested in young fives. So if you know you want to do young fives, or you're not sure if you want to do young fives, so you want your child to participate in the screening, please click that young fives button so you can indicate that young fives is something that you may be interested in. After you complete pre-registration tonight, then in 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get an email prompting you to create a parent portal in PowerSchool. That's a lot of P's. There is a lot of important steps in that parent portal. That one, you may need to sit down for a few extra minutes, plan about 15 minutes to do that PowerSchool bit. You'll fill out the enrollment forms and necessary documents, and then you'll set up a time to meet with our district enrollment coordinator. And folks, this is why I am urging you to start this process tonight. This presentation is going on at 4 other buildings right now as well. Our enrollment coordinator only has so many slots at a time. If you want to get your preferred time to meet with the enrollment coordinator, you want to have all of the options possible. So please make sure you get on, do that pre-registration, then you'll get to the PowerSchool portal. And then after that PowerSchool portal is when you'll be prompted to set up a meeting with our enrollment coordinator. That meeting must happen before your student can attend school, because that is where you will bring all of your necessary documents. And I want to talk about those documents right now, because there is another new thing in the state of Michigan that is different from when you have, even if you have registered earlier students in the past. First, a lot of them are the ones you expect. Birth certificate. You will need an original birth certificate with the seal, not a copy. You will need proof of residency, and our enrollment documents line out what counts as proof of residency. Some bills count, some do not, so please read that carefully before attending your enrollment appointment. Immunization records, or if your child is not immunized, you will need to visit the Macomb County Health Department to get an immunization waiver and have immunization education. That is a requirement by law. And then here is a new requirement. This is brand new this year. A dental screening is required for all incoming young fives and kindergarten students. So that is a law by the state. If your child is already seeing a dentist, you're more than able to get that form filled out by your regular dentist. If your child has not seen a dentist or has not seen a dentist in a while, the Macomb County Health Department is offering free dental screening for students. And again, I'm sure those appointments will fill up, so you'll want to get on that quickly if that's something you'll need. And then, of course, hearing and vision records. If your child is in a preschool program in Macomb County already, no doubt the county health department, if they have not already come, they will be coming to your child's preschool to do vision and hearing screening, and it is required by law that you bring the results of that vision and hearing screening for your enrollment appointment. So you'll need all that documentation to meet with our enrollment coordinator. Okay. All of our elementaries in Romeo do have a kindergarten screening event, and the word screening there means something a little different than it does for young fives. So I want to be clear. I know it's confusing that we use 2 different words. Young fives screening, we utilize a particular protocol that we will then provide you with a recommendation after if we think young fives is the best choice for your child or not. Kindergarten screening isn't about providing a report to you or letting you know your child's readiness for kindergarten. The kindergarten screening events that are held at the elementary level are just a way for our school staff to get to know the tiniest slice about your child so that we can help create balanced classrooms for the fall, as balanced as possible. So that's why we do kindergarten screening. For those who might be watching this on a recorded version, each elementary school does a different screening date. So for Indian Hills families, our screening date for kindergarten is going to be on May 13th. We do that in the evening, and you'll sign up for a time slot. Again, you won't be able to sign up for that time slot until you get your enrollment done, so you'll want to finish that so that then you can get prompted to set up your screening night time. You'll bring your child that night. Your child will get to see the school and meet the teachers. Your child will do some activities that will look to them like play, but to us, we'll be learning some valuable information to help us balance classrooms. And you'll get to learn more specific things about our school that evening. If you're considering young fives and you fall in that window where you need to be screened for young fives, your young five screening will show up as part of your enrollment process. Okay, let's talk about the first days of school. They're many months away. I do not expect you to remember this information. We will go over it again in May, but multiple passes at the same info never hurt. So, if you are new to Romeo, this staggered start approach to young fives in kindergarten may be very different for you. So first, let me tell you about what it is and why we do it. We know that even for our most prepared young fives and kindergarten students, starting in the big elementary school is a big, big jump. And so for that very first week of school, we have a special schedule that's just for our young fives and kindergarten kids. And it looks a little something like this. The first day of school is Tuesday, September 2nd. For all of our students in grades 1 through 5, that's typically just a normal half day of school. But for young fives and kindergarten families, that is going to be a drop-in open house with the parent. So you'll plan to come for about a half hour to an hour sometime during that morning. You'll pick the time within our window. You'll visit the classroom with your child. The teacher will have some fun activities. You'll get to walk around the school with your child. And it is a way for your child to get comfortably acclimated to our school environment with you, their parent, who they already know, love, and trust. The second day of school, which would be like Wednesday, September 3rd, only our students with last names beginning in A through L will attend school. We always go with the student last name, not the parent last name. And so students, last name A through L, would attend school that day. Our M through Z kids get the day off. Kindergarten and young fives only. Then the next day, it flip-flops. So on the third day of school, last names M through Z come to school, and the A through L kids get the day off. Why do we do this? It's a full day of school. It's a lot to make it through. Having half of the class really allows our teachers to better get to know your student, to better get to know their needs, and to just, for your student to get to know the classroom in a little bit of a smaller environment. And then finally, day 4, all bets are off because everybody's coming to school. So by that time, we have a lot of the tears out of the way. As I said, I'll talk about that staggered start schedule again, as well as much more detailed information about our school at our May screening event. But that concludes my formal presentation for this evening. I really appreciate you all being such great listeners. And